Next, let's talk about enforcement. This was a big area to tackle. Now, currently I explained how our enforcement is working, and it's not enough. So think of it this way, because I have to tell you what was unusual about the enforcement process that we ended up putting in the law. If you were asked to sit at a table to write new state law, and in the end you wrote new state law and took it to the state legislatures, and it passed and became either a revised state law or a new state law, who would you expect would be enforcing that law? Well, the logical answer is state government. Well, this group, based on input from the people who pay for the call before you dig system, and based on other stakeholders that have to work within that system, and based, frankly, on some of the legislatures and their staffs themselves, did not want the new dig law enforced by a state agency. So we had to find language that began the enforcement of the new dig law outside of state government. Very interesting position to be in. It has rarely happened. It doesn't happen in other states, maybe just a handful, 2 or 3 to be honest. So here's how it reads. The Utilities Transportation Commission was directed in the new law to contract with a non-government, non-profit, private group to form a 13-person safety committee. The job of the safety committee will be to give the law a look now and then, give it the smell test if you would, take comments from stakeholders about how the law should be changed, with the whole purpose of making recommendations to the legislature on changes that should be made in the state law that will improve damage prevention in the state of Washington, that will decrease damages caused by third-party excavation, that will just make the whole system easier to work with so that damage prevention is easier to comply with. That's a big task. The members of this 13-person safety committee, per the new law, are to be pulled from 10 industries. I'm not going to list those industries individually because you can read those on your own when you go to the supporting documents that come with this training video. But another job of this 13-person safety committee is to provide a review committee made up of 3 to 5 members whose job it will be to hear complaints from any individual against any other entity or individual about alleged violations of the new dig law. That means if someone believes that a facility operator, for example, has not been locating their jobs on time or has not been locating accurately, and I stress this, and they've tried other attempts to communicate with those groups to change the behavior, because the whole purpose of this law is let's communicate to change the behavior we want, let's talk more, let's share more data. But if you find yourself in a situation where nothing has worked and you want to file a complaint, you can do so, and the process of filing this complaint is included in the support documentation, and it'll tell you where to file, where to send it, what to provide. And the review committee will get notice of this and contact the person you're complaining against and tell them there's going to be a hearing and both parties have to show. And I should say it's not a hearing because this is private, not state. This is a review committee process. And at this review committee process or meeting, all sides will be heard. Afterwards, the review committee will decide, did someone actually violate the law? And if they did, the review committee's job will be to recommend action to the Utilities Transportation Commission that will provide the behavior we're looking for. For example, the recommendation might be some company that is brought before us keeps doing this, we think a fine is in order. And the fines are clearly defined in the new law, but just simply it can be $1,000 per occurrence. So the review committee might say we want a fine and we want some training for this group. That's the recommended action to the Utilities Transportation Commission. If a regulated line, that is a line regulated by the Utilities Transportation Commission, also called the UTC, is discovered in this process, the UTC has full authority under the new act to enforce the dig law because they are the enforcers for breaks of regulated lines, as well as the operation in safe practice around these regulated lines. The recommended action would be, hey, a party broke a line that you regulate, they're yours. We recommend you fine or train, but the UTC can make the decision as to what they're going to do with that party. If an unregulated line is broken, again, recommended action could be fine, training, or a combination of both. And that's recommended action to the UTC. The review committee, being a private group, will not have the authority to make anybody do some action based on authority from the Attorney General or something to that effect. Now, if it happens that someone finds themselves in front of this committee often and the training isn't working, the fines aren't working, or they're not complying in any way with the recommendations from this review committee, the review committee may make a recommendation to the UTC that they contact the Attorney General and ask them to take action against this party because the Attorney General's job is to act on and protect state departments. So if a state department has been asked by the review committee to take action against someone that just doesn't seem to be changing their behavior, the results could be very serious because you could find the Attorney General acting against you to protect the agency that brought the complaint and ultimately protect the citizens of Washington against your actions. We've never had that as an option before.